You have to get the oven up to 450. Mine are rising very quickly. So as you can see, they are really, really swelling. See how high they are? So I have a warm kitchen. If your kitchen's not warm, give it time. I mean, they will get up there. It just depends upon the temperature of your kitchen. So mine are all swollen, and I don't want them to overrise, because if they overrise, they collapse. And once they collapse, the yeast is dead. In other words, they have no more to eat, and they just die off right away. So you always have to be careful about that with them. I think that's why sometimes my French bread collapses on me, because I don't get to it in time. Okay, so while we're waiting for the oven, I'm going to go ahead and sit there and get this going. I didn't expect it to rise that fast, but it really, really did. What I'm actually doing now is taking care of my stock, all those vegetable peelings and everything. So I know all of you, I said 2 hours, I'm sorry. It actually moved faster than I thought. By the time that gets up, it will be over an hour and a half that they've been rising. We're in part 3. Good morning, Eric, chilling. So we're waiting for the oven, and you missed part 1 and part 2. Greedy Sander, hi sir. You're actually at the end of making buttermilk sourdough English muffins. We're getting ready to bake them. Right now I'm just trying to get my stock drained so I can can it. Yeah, everybody's sleeping but me. I'm the one working, everybody else isn't. They're sleeping right now. Sir, why did you say that? Good morning, Judy. You guys must have been asleep when I was up at 4 this morning and cooking. These are all the peelings that you're seeing right now that I put in my slow cooker for 24 hours to get my chicken stock so I could get all those nutrients out of the peelings. And now I'm straining it while we're waiting for the oven to get hot for those. Just waking up? Oh, okay. Well, I'd say you're sleeping late for me. I was definitely still asleep. Well, have your coffee and wake up. After I finish these English muffins, buttermilk, sourdough English muffins, I'm going to have some coffee myself. I haven't had any, but I did finish 2 muffins up this morning with some buttermilk for breakfast. And what muffins? The ones I made. The cantaloupe butter apricot. But right now I'm running out. These vegetables peelings, and I'm going to strain the liquid and then get it in a container, and I will be able to can stock this afternoon. Let's see if I can get this upside down here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that in a bag. So we're just waiting. I hope everybody's doing well. I know you can't see. If you want to see what I'm doing, you can actually see. Yeah, it does. This is what I'm doing right now, if you want to see. I'm actually getting my stock together. See, a lot of people don't realize the peelings and the seeds have a lot of nutrients. So what you usually throw in the trash, I sit there and I freeze in bags till I get enough to make stock. And this is my vegetable stock. I'm going to have to get some new towels. My towels have holes in them. So we've been very okay, sir, if you want to enjoy it. I don't find it that interesting. If you have a lot of pain, I could see that. But just to generally do it, nah. I don't see cigarettes much use either. Though I understand them. If the brain doesn't get enough niacinamide, it'll use cigarettes for the nicotine in place of the niacinamide B vitamin you have. So, if you want to quit smoking, you have to sit there and get that niacinamide in your system. Because that's the vitamin that helps your brain wake up in the morning. And you think I have so much room in my kitchen. And I don't. We're making buttermilk sourdough English muffins. I just have a few minutes while the oven is heating up so I could go ahead and get this vegetable stock that I started, because I put in a slow cooker on low for 24 hours to draw everything out of them so I can sit there and utilize it. Good morning, everyone. Of course, I've been up longer than you. I got up at 3:15 this morning. I finally woke up. I was so tired yesterday from just everything. I was so busy trying to get the ironing and the wash and everything done. My son said, "Mommy, you left the clothes." I said, "I know." He said, "And you didn't even sit there and put a bag in the trash." I said, "I know." I said, "I was tired. I figured I could wake up and finish it in the morning." He said, "I got it for you." So, thank you, Johnny, for the gift. I'm making buttermilk sourdough English muffins, and what you see in this bowl here is a vegetable stock that I started. It's all done. You can see how, I'll show you how thick it is because I got to strain it one more time. Because my towel had a little hole in it. Okay. One more strain, only because some got through. This is how dark my stock is. Now, this is so concentrated, I'm going to dilute this before I can it. So when I pour a lot in. No, I was watching a program and I was tired. I think I went to bed around 5:30. Thank you. Hold on. There, thank you. So I got up, I fell asleep somewhere around 5:30. I was watching a program. I was all clean. The house was closed. I was quite comfortable. The next thing I knew is I was out. And then I woke up 3:15 this morning. So I was unaware of it. I still have my robe on. I said, boy, I was tired. So I add some water just to thin this out, but this tells you just how thick my stalks are. This is a vegetable stock. And when you cook the vegetables, peelings down like that, they turn brown. Hi, Green. Sir. So I'm going to add a little more water to this. So this will be canned today, and I'll mark it as vegetable stock. And put that away. But this is utilizing your fruits and, your vegetables completely. I can't sleep 5 hours. I've always slept about 9. I've always been a sleeper that sleeps 9. If I don't get 9 hours, even from the time I was little, my mother she said, I had to wake you up, Sandy, to nurse. You are just one person. And catnap, even in high school, I would be tired and have to catnap. Now we're going to get these English muffins into the oven. They have risen. Get you over here because this is what we're really working on right here. As you can see, they have risen quite nicely. All right. We are going to clock these exactly 8 minutes. And at the end of 8 minutes, we're going to sit there and we're going to flip them to bake the other side, and then they'll be done. And then I have the other ones here. They're all rising very hot, very fast for me. It usually takes longer, but I guess with all the cooking I'm doing in the kitchen, it's getting that way. Yeah, and they're buttermilk sourdough, so I can't wait. Good morning, Clint. Yeah, I figured, if I can do this, I might make a light whole wheat sour cream. I might go there, but today was buttermilk. Hi, Kevin. I wrap. I think everybody stands with food, believe you me. Anyway, I'll show you how much I've drained off of all the peelings. This is what it looks like when I'm done squeezing them and getting everything out of them. It looks like this, and then you can put it into your yard, and there's still more nutrients here that the ground can get as well. So I put the seeds and all of that. The only thing I don't put in there is definitely jalapeno peppers seeds. That'll make your stock very hot, I found out. Hi, thank you, Clint. Sir? Oh, you sleep at work, okay. Yeah, when it gets enough, yeah, I do that too. I'll bury it out in the garden. But right now I have to send it out to the trash because I can't dig anything up in the yard. It's frozen and snow there. And Bonnie wants to see me. He's barking, and that's my neighbor's dog. I said, Bonnie, I am not trudging through snow that's almost up to my hips. Okay, wait till the snow leaves and I'll be out there. We're making buttermilk sourdough English muffins. Okay, now I got my stock ready to can later today. Hold on a minute, I don't want you to flip. Now the towel I used, I'll just rinse it out, shake the excess that I can't get off, and I will wash it and reuse it. I'm not real good at composting. I'm not real good at gardening. Every time I garden, the animals eat everything. They leave me raspberries. I have to fight. They're one foot away from me. And I said, you're eating all my blackberries. Can you leave me one? And he just keeps on chomping and ignores me. And he goes right over. No, I showed you what's left in the bowl from doing what I do. I cook this. These are vegetable peelings and seeds, all vegetable. And what I do is I put them in my slow cooker for 24 hours on low. And then I let them cool because I have to handle them. And then I sit there and I get a strainer and I put a towel in it and I dump it in there. And then as the liquid comes out, I squeeze what I can get out of the peelings and stuff there. And this is what's left. And if it's spring, summer, or autumn, I can bury this in the yard. But it's winter now, and because of the ice and the ground is frozen about this deep, I can't. So it'll have to go out. But I do make a compost. I bury it out in the yard when I can. Yeah. I told God, because I'm not very good at gardening, I said, look, I'll share the garden with the animals, all right? I'm not going to hog it all because I know they have to eat. I know I have to eat. We all have to eat. This is why I feed the birds. I feed, I just feed everybody, let's say. And so they came, they enjoyed a little too much. I've stood out there with the squirrels and I just look at them and say, really? Really? Are you going to do this? And I'm talking to these animals and they just look at me and say, and continue eating. So I said, if I catch you, I'm going to cut your tail off. You're not leaving anything. Then I had a dream and they stood up and they said, we left you the raspberries. I can win for losing. So I plant everything and I know I'm not going to get much. They don't like asparagus too much. Rhubarb they don't like. They died when they ate that. I got 4 plants, I think, out there. Collins, what are you talking about? Oh, baby. That's funny. Repeated offenders. Okay, we got 2 minutes and we're going to have to flip those. So at least, did he give the offenders names? I have a peach tree that has a fungus on it. But the first year we didn't have fungus, and there were 3 peaches left. I noticed all the peaches were disappearing. And I went out there, I said, well, there's 3. I'm going to get the last 3, okay? I went out early in the morning because I knew after the sun and you let it sit overnight, all that sweetness is in the fruit because it's had all night to bring that sugar up from the warmth of the sun. So I went out there, and that squirrel had gotten all 3 of them. He had 2 in his mouth and 1 in his arm, and he was going up the tree. And I told him, you're greedy. I said, give me 1. And he wouldn't give me 1. He had 1 in 1 arm and 2 in his mouth. I didn't believe he could hold 2 in that little mouth, but he was greedy. No, I do not Snapchat, whatever that is. Okay, 1 more minute. We'll flip them for another 8 minutes. And we'll see how these come out. No, I did not. I just stood there and yelled at him. Oh, yeah, we have a raccoon. I have skunks. There were 2 skunks arguing, and they woke me up. So I went outside and told them to quit that. They chased me. I ran into the house because I know if they sprayed me what I'd smell like for a couple of weeks. I live in New York State, Gary. Good morning, Joshua. Okay. Now what you're going to do, we're not completely taking them out of the oven because you still want the heat because they are cooking. Just pull them out a little and flip them. Be very careful because you can punch a hole in them because they're not done cooking, and they're very, very light. Now we let them cook another 8 minutes, and then we'll take them out and cool them. And you can see there, all right, 8, that'll be 29. So you'll be able to see it. I live in New York State. We're making buttermilk sourdough English muffins. I've made plain English muffins, light whole wheat English muffins. These are all sourdough I've done, and I've made a rye with caraway sourdough English muffins. And now we're trying this with buttermilk. I might try, I'm thinking about making using currants. If not, no, not currants. I want cranberries, dried cranberries. I'm thinking to see how that would go. I go there. I am going to be, I say 73 because I'm only days away from it now. I am 72 and I'm going to be 73 in just a few days. 2 hours ago, we were putting everything together. The sourdough culture had already done its 2 risings because I have to do a 12-hour rise. Then we add flour and water. We do a second rise. Then we put it together for this rise because we're proofing that yeast. When you deal with sourdough cultures, they take longer to rise. Oh, but they're so good. And all those microbes are just so good for your intestines to help you break down food. You're welcome, Gary. I try to answer questions. Sometimes it rolls too fast and I can't get the answers. And other times it just drags nice and slow and I can talk to everybody, say hi, and answer their questions. I try to answer questions. People have questions when you're cooking, and you know, I can't get to all of them because sometimes when I'm not going to chop my fingers for anybody. Sarah, I believe that. My sons and I demolished those muffins. But you know, I have that left over. Just hear me out on this. Yeah, so you have to spend more time and get back into it. Really? I didn't know that. What was I talking about? Oh, you know, I made that squash pie. That's delicious, believe it or not. What's funny is the way it cooked. You could see the pumpkin running through it almost like a spiral as you cut it. So that was interesting. I'm thinking walnuts, because squash is more of an autumn time, you think? And I'm thinking of using some of that squash with, I might roast the walnuts and put that together and see what I can come up with as a muffin. We're waiting for the English muffins, the sourdough ones, to come out. So I'm thinking it now. Just because it comes to this head of mine, it might go out, you know. Oh, you like my apron? Thank you. I do too. Persimmons, if I can find them, yeah, I'll use them. Believe you me, I'll think of something to put them in. No, I do not have, David, any grandchildren. I just have sons. That's it so far. I'm not concerned racing or forcing them to give me grandchildren. My job was to care for my family, but they want to marry, but I'm not going to force them. They say, do you want grandchildren? I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I love you. You're my children. When you have your children, you will love them because they're yours. You know, I tell them that. One is gay and one is heterosexual. Okay? But I don't force an issue with them with this. I'm not going to force and tell my children what I want. I'm not setting them up. It is their life. They will make decisions on what they want. I am not pushing for it or anything else, because when you do that, I like them too, Gary. Okay, Big. If I find something, believe you me, if I find them. So I just sit there, and my husband and I raised them that way. It's their life and their decisions that they have to make. Just make sure that when you do something, you got your head screwed on, which doesn't seem to go in. It goes in one ear and out the other at times, but they'll have to learn. Okay, well, if I see them, I will. My real name is Sandra, but everybody calls me Sandy. Angelina? Well, yeah. So I'm not concerned about it. I see a lot of people tell their children, the little, I can't wait till I get grandchildren. It's like you force them into that issue. My thing, I wasn't forced either. My brothers and I, my parents raised us. What you do with your life, if you want children or not, it's your choice. That's it. The same thing. I raised them the same way, so did my husband. We're not forcing you, but if you want, you know. Oh, thank you. They're very old earrings. Blame. No, I do not, Gary. Okay, I will, boo-boo. No, I wanted children when I was little. I even told my husband, I said, I want 3 boys, then I want 3 girls. He said, why in that order? I said, because big brothers could sit there and take care of the little sisters, and hand-me-downs. By the time you get to the 3rd one, when he's done, the clothes are just rags at that point. So I figured it was economically sound, but it didn't turn out that way. I said, no, I don't know, Gary, that person whom you're talking about. New York, 6:29 right now. No, I wanted children from the time I was little. I told my mother, but I had lined up, I wanted 6, but I lost one between the boys, which was my little girl, and I was very sick, and I had died, and my youngest came a DOA, dead on arrival. He and I were both dead. They got us back, and after that, if I have children, it would kill me. So that was the end of it. The doctor said, not again, not anymore, your body can't take it. So that was the end of that. Okay, I'll show you those in a minute. I gotta get the next batch in. Another 8 minutes will be 37. If you don't believe these aren't big, there they are. And this is my hand, but that gives you an idea how big they are. They're huge. Here's another one. See? I love these. These are so good. They do not even compare to what you get in the store. Okay. That was too hot to handle. But here they are. Are those big enough? Scream 7, never heard of it. Yeah. Mississippi, yay. Good morning, Gary. Big? Yeah. And these, oh my God. They really, you can smell the buttermilk and the sourdough culture together. So these are going to be very interesting. But they have to cool. 6:30? Yeah, what are you doing? Reading the clock behind me? Mississippi. Okay. Horn Lake, Mississippi. I don't know that area. Florida. I know. I went through Florida to get to Puerto Rico. So good morning, George. Oh, God. They've got to be good. I already ate the muffins and I can't have these. And they're light. They're really, really light. You just have to be careful handling them while they're hot, because if you squeeze them, they'll go back to dough. This is why I can't try one to tell you how they would taste, but I know they're going to taste good. They've got to taste good. Oh, this isn't breakfast. These are buttermilk sourdough English muffins. My breakfast was buttermilk, and I finished up the last of the 2 muffins this morning from yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, I almost drowned at Puerto Rico, and I don't swim. We were at the San Juan Hotel. We overlooked the swimming pool, and then beyond that, you could see the beach. Yes, it is. Okay, Gary. Sir, when I died, the first time I saw 2 angels, huge. By the way, they're not small. 7, 8 feet is short. They're very, very tall. But when I died and they lost me for many minutes, I was with Jesus. I was at his feet. And I said, the body is dying. I can't go back. The body's dying. And he turned left and I turned left. And I heard my husband's prayers. He said he was going to blow that hospital up and kill every doctor and patient in there because they're not worth suffering. And he said the doctors are worth shit. And then he looked right, and I heard my children crying. And I told him, I can't go back. The body's dying. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing they can do for me. It was really bad. I was dead. And all of a sudden, he looked down at me, and I was gone. And I was back in this body. And I was alive. They had me on a respirator. They were monitoring me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. The machines were doing that for me. I had IVs in both arms. I was tied down too. And they were talking and telling my husband that I am not going to live. And there was blood everywhere. I felt the blood coming out of me. They were trying to stop the bleeding, which was bad. So they were pumping blood in, and it was just coming out of me. It was just a total rotating. And then all of a sudden, by day 2, the bleeding had stopped and everything else. And my husband was there. And I heard my husband tell them, I'm going to come back and see my wife, and you're going to clean her ass up. They cleaned me up, made me presentable, and within a week of that time, I was standing, not well, but I was holding on to the IV pole, and I could take a step to get into the chair. They were tying my hands and my legs down, and I wanted up, and they wouldn't let me up, and I was fighting them. I had lines in my throat here. I have scars where they did it. They did cut downs and had to get in here to my heart and all. And they finally, my husband said, if my wife wants to get up, untie her, because they strap you to the bed and you help her up. And I finally got up and started moving. And the only reason I have the breath of life to this day is because I was given a second chance, because my family needed me. I wasn't afraid being with Christ. I was more afraid of the hospital. And when I pulled the breathing thing out, and I called them, you fucking bastards, you're trying to kill me. You know, I as you can see, I don't get along with the doctors very well. And one doctor ran to one side, and I wouldn't look at him. And he ran around to the other side, and I turned away from him. He said, you are going to listen to me. I'm not locking. God told me I'm going to get up. I'm going to get up. I don't care what you guys say. I know I have to get up. I've got a family that needs me, and I have to get going. So every day I am blessed that He has given me the breath of life. I know He can take it like that. And because of the prayers of my children, and I heard them, and what my husband was going to do to save those people, I had to come back. So see, I knew I had to come back, but I couldn't come back to a sick body. So this body's been through hell and back, and I'm alive. Yeah. A lot of people, good morning, Play, George, Edward, BM, Betty. Hi. That's what I went through, and that wasn't the first time. I remember being a little girl. My mother put me into surgery. They lost me on the table there, too. Okay, we got, all right. Yeah, I have to flip these. Give me a minute. Well, you can see me flip them, so you see how big they are. So you actually know that this really does work. You see them. I'm not pulling them all the way out, just far enough where I can maneuver with them. You press down on them, flipping them, they'll flatten out. So I'm trying to be very careful not to do that, just to guide them over, and that's it. Like I said, you can cause these to collapse, and that's not what you want them to do. Now we'll give them another 8 minutes, and they will be done. That'll be 46. Doesn't work like that, sir. Blaine, yeah, you can. A lot of people say you see a white light or something. No, I didn't. I was with Christ. And if you wonder if your prayers are heard, they are heard. I was on the other side. I could hear them. So, though the physical body dies, your loved ones are still very much alive. The plants, the animals, they all, any death here, we're into the spirit world. Everybody's there. Yeah. It answered a lot of questions. It's your faith, and you really have to have that faith. Oh, I hate to tell you this, sir. Everything. Everything is seen. So when your loved ones die or your pets die, they're still there. It's only you have to see that the body is dead, but they are not. They're still very much alive. That's why dogs all have different personalities. People have different personalities. Even plants act different. Some plants love people, and they'll grow up here. And other plants don't like you, and they'll die. I'm not going to grow for you, you know. Animals, they have their likes and their dislikes. They've made friends, and you wouldn't guess it, but animals make friends. That's why sometimes you see animals that shouldn't get along because they're friends. They remember each other. Good morning, George. Blaine. Thank you. That's how I perceive it. I've seen it, so I can't deny it. I've seen angels. I've seen them. I've seen demons. I do not like demons, and they do have a unique smell. I see sometimes, I can feel people around me. Like yesterday, my son and I were cooking. I was showing him how to make a lemon cream sauce. And I turned around. I knew somebody was standing right next to me on this side. And I knew it was somebody very tall too, you know, because I found myself looking up. And I said, it's quite crowded in my kitchen. You know, you can feel the crowdedness and stuff like that. But these gifts that I have come from God, and I came with them from from the other side. I brought them over with me. You will, if you want to, and you love them, they will. Shadow people are souls. If they're dark, it's usually demons. Possession is very real. I saw a woman get possessed, and that really frightened me. That scared me so much. I said, Tony, I'm going to stand behind you if you don't mind right now. You know, he said, what do you see? And I turned around. I was very careful not to talk very loud because they know when you're talking and you can see them, so you look somewhere else. And I described what I saw and stuff. And that demon got into her body and started walking towards me because it knew I saw. So I had to be careful. It's supposed to. Luna, what would be beautiful? Oh, I make my mistakes. Believe you me, I am capable. But when I make a blooper in there, if I'm not cutting myself, believe you me, I've made some flops in the kitchen. All right, I have to keep an eye on the clock because we're on these last batch that we're making. There is, and the funny thing is that evil will be straying a lot of people away. People say, do you go to church? I found out church was political. I wasn't very happy about it. So I walked away from the church, but I didn't walk away from God. I also, at one point in my life, and I can talk about this, when my parents were getting a divorce and the whole world, to a child, feels like your whole world is coming apart and you have trusted God all this time. And when that happened, I was very angry with him. Rebellious. Yeah, I was rebellious. And as I matured and got over my anger of my world being turned upside down, I realized things. I got the answers that I needed from Edgar Casey and his readings on that, about karma and reincarnation. Then I looked at my mother and father, and I didn't see them as my mother and father as I got older. No. When I left, I was before Christ right away. I don't remember going, but when I left my body one time, and I stood up and I said, I'm going to go tell my husband what you guys are doing to me. There were two angels there. Okay, and I didn't look like this. I had to look up. All right, and then they looked and pointed, and I saw my body was cut wide open. And I knew my order was, you get back in that body, young lady. So I had to get back into it. It's not opened like wide like that because we're all at different levels of growth. If you're way down, I'll call it a stairway. Easy for you to understand. When you're at the bottom, you are so earthbound you can't see any further. But as you grow spiritually and stuff, you move forward. When you make mistakes, you slip down. And we're going like Wall Street, up, down, up, down, up, down. But we're working towards getting back to God. Okay? So that's how I saw it. And I got the answers then. And then I saw my parents as, yes, I called them, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, sir. They never allowed me to say mommy or daddy. We were always yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I saw them as souls. This is when I started really understanding people were souls and that they had their own karma. But in them having a divorce, they didn't see the repercussions that went to the children and how it affected the children or the people or the families as they separate and there's grandchildren and stuff. This affects them a lot. So every action we do has an equal and opposite reaction. You think of self, well, I'm going to divorce because I can't deal with this guy anymore or this woman anymore. So, or I'm going to run around on her and have an affair, or she's doing it to him. This not only affects your selfish of self and not thinking of the repercussions and the hurt that can go out in the repercussions of it. You throw a stone into the water. You see those ripples? The same thing happens for all your actions. If they're good actions, they ripple out good. If they're bad actions, they ripple out bad. Okay? So always, this is why I try to be very careful. Sometimes I lose my temper. Sometimes I do have a temper. My sons can tell you I can yell and I can punish. I will do these things. What I learned, as old as I am, I have to get these off the burners. Here's the next set. As you can see, they are really large. Just let me get them out because they do have to cool. And I don't want them to go back to dough sitting on the baking sheet. So when you do things like this, you have to remember. So I try in a balancing act, the older I get, to balancing these things out. You know, and trying to be better. But when you look at life like that and think of it, like people don't listen to 100% of what people say. They take what they want and they do what they want. You can whip a child till doomsday. They're going to do what they're going to do. All what you're doing is delaying it. At least it's not going to happen on your watch. And if they don't listen and learn, they end up paying the price. And then they get upset. Say, but. I said, not, it's time to pay. Blame, that's true. I don't have a lot of friends. Here they are. And as you can see, they're all large. There's nothing small about these. I don't have a lot of friends. A lot of the people that I knew have finally passed on, but they were all older than me. A lot of people, I have friends in different states, girlfriends, and we talk. And I do have a couple of male friends that live in different states, and one likes to play cards, and I said, you're losing all the time. And the other one loves to take old guns and rebuild them and bring them back up to where they're working again, which I think is good. And we talk, but I don't have a large group of people. It's very hard to find people older than me or my age, but when I do find them, we usually have a common bond where we can be friends. But as you get older, you will notice, as they die off, you notice that large group you have goes down. I'm a person that's always had a small group of friends or one very, very close friend. And that's it. I mean, I can name my three close friends. They were very close till they moved and we lost contact. Kathy Prosh, Linda Murphy, and Debbie Dickinson. And Debbie Dickinson was the longest that I had. Judy Blair came, but then we were moving, so that was very short. But these were close friends that I had. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Big David. So, May, this, I don't understand that, okay? But, so you don't have to have a lot of friends. If you have one good close friend, make sure it's a friend that you can really trust. Because sometimes your friends you think are your best friends and you tell them about your girl, you talk so highly about your girl, you might find him going after your girl. Same thing with women. When you have a man, you don't talk, because if you do, she might go, I had a girlfriend. Well, we were starting to become girlfriends, and she said she was my friend. She was my friend. I said, okay. So she and I used to spend hours talking. And then she came to the house one time, and we spent the afternoon, and then I called her about a week and a half later, and she talked with me for about 5 minutes. She said, Sandy, could I talk to your husband? I have to ask him a question. I said, sure, no problem. He was on the phone an hour and a half with her looking at me. So I got back on the phone and I told her, it's very interesting. that you call me your friend, and yet you're spending all the time with my husband. She never called me again. I had another one who said, I want to come to your home, Sandy, because we're good friends. And I said, okay, we'll have breakfast together. We all had lox and bagels. And she ignored me the whole time she was at the house, but she spent all the time just looking Google-eyed at my husband. And I told her, I know what you're doing. I'm not stupid. She never came back. She never spoke to me again. So be aware, young ladies, if you're talking about your boyfriend and he's the dream of your dream, if you're telling your girlfriends and she finds interest in him, you're going to find you might end up losing him because she'll play every trick in the book. And guys, don't talk about your young lady, because if you talk too highly of her, one of your guys might go after her as well. So you've got to be very careful. Wasn't my husband's fault. He was telling me, he answered the question, but I let her know. And he saw what she was doing, and he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, but this woman was still coming after him. And I said that, so that's it. No, it didn't go. He was very careful, but he was very respectful to her, but he was letting me know that he was uncomfortable, and I said, I know. My sons tried talking to her, and she'd answer them real quick and go back to my husband. I asked her a question, she would ignore me. So I knew what she was doing, so I let her know. And once you let a female know, one female to another, I know what you're doing, and you have an honest relationship, you can sit there and tell your husband or your boyfriend, if he's faithful, or your fiance, listen, this is it. So always be careful. Good morning. Yeah, my husband he was an officer and a gentleman, and I can say that. So be very, very careful. These are cooling. Not cool enough to eat, but I'd like to try one, but I cannot. So listen, that is it. I hope that helps a lot of you. No, I gave him the phone. I said, Tony, she wants to talk to you about something. Could you? And he said, sure, no problem, Sandy. He was angry after that. My husband was very faithful. I did not have to worry about that. So these are things. You can say what you think, that's your insecurity coming out. I wasn't insecure about it. I let them know I wasn't born yesterday. Sometimes you have to let people do stuff and then catch them, and don't whisper it to them. Bring it out in the open. I mean, my sons were there and all, and I let her know right there. And my neighbors were outside, so they heard me tell her. I didn't scream and yell at her. I just spoke very clearly. So the embarrassment is on her and not on me. You see, sometimes you don't have to scream it. All you have to do is, people are there, all you have to do is say it to the person who's doing it, But that was my place to put her in her place. But I wanted to do it at a time was appropriate. And she got the message. They both got the message loud and clear. And I told one of them, you think your tits hanging out of a bra is going to get him, honey? You can't even fuck straight. This is what I told her. Yeah. Oh. So one time he was coming down the stairs at the Supreme Court, because we were in court, because the Board of Ed went after us, stating that he was abusing us and hitting us. Of course, we went in skimpy things in the court. I mean, they had that air conditioner so high. I know it was a hot day, but we walked in there, oh my God, the air conditioner was they couldn't find any bruises or anything on us. But it was just to get us in court. And he was coming, he said, go on down the stairs, I'll be right down, because he has a cane and he had to hold on because he was a disabled veteran. And this woman came out, man, dressed, suit and all. You could see she was an attorney, man. She said, want to look at my husband? Do you need some help coming down the stairs? Now, I'm all the way down at the foot of the stairs waiting for my husband, because he sent us Now he told me to get the children downstairs. And I'm watching her, and she's talking to him as he takes one step at a time, and he says, yes, being polite, as my husband was. And he was 3 steps from ground level to be with me. And I said, I can't leave you alone for 1 minute without picking women up. She left in a hurry. I let her know who I was. And he said, well, I can't leave you alone. Look what you do. You drag every man. I said, I am not dragging anybody. I'm minding my business. He said, yeah, but you're like a flower and the bees are going to the... I got to keep an eye on you. This is how we work, She was not being polite. If you saw what she was doing, listen, you can say what you want. You were not there. I'm only giving you a general synopsis of what was happening. And but I saw the looks and what was going on, as well as my husband, when the men come after me. So we're very well. We had a very good relationship, and he was an artist, and I was a model. Believe you me, there ain't much that goes on that we won't catch one way or another. The board, BCW, the Board for Child Welfare, had a cute, because we were teaching our children on IHIP program, that's Individual Home Instruction Plan. In other words, you are the teacher. And they were trying to get us on the education part. So then they decided that my husband was beating me and the children. Now, the day we had to go to court, it was 98, so I had a blacklist type and a skirt and sandals on. I was not dressing to the hilt to go to court. It was too hot. It's too uncomfortable. Our sons were in just little Iazoga shirts, and they had shorts on and sandals. So we were all pretty much in summer clothes. And that's why we went to court, and they said that he was beating us, and bruises were all over our body. They said, this is the report we got. And the judge looked at us and said, there's nothing there. And he threw the case out. But they did this. They thought of every way of punishing us because we did individual home instruction plan. At that time, it wasn't popular. They even told us, the counselor of the Board of Ed said, look, just register your children. You can teach them at home. We just want the money. No, we weren't giving you. No, you give us the money. We'll buy the school books and we'll educate them. But we're not taking money out of our pocket for you to get that money. They wanted us to pay for everything. The court said you had to pay and give them the books that they needed to help educate their children. They didn't do it. We ended up having to buy the books anyway. But they sat there, and the chancellor of the Board of Ed actually told us to just register him so he could get the money. That's all they wanted was the money. They didn't care if the children were educated or not. They just wanted that. So finally, when they were 16 and 14, that was the last court that I guess they could find us in. They said the judge ordered them to test the boys to see how well educated they were. Now they're 14 and 16. These are their ages of our sons at the time they took this test. Our oldest son graduated 4 years of college. Our younger son tested to the second year of college. So our older was actually, he was beyond the grading of 4 years of college, and the younger one was right behind him by 2 years. So individual home instruction plan, you can sit there and do. I will warn you, the Board of Ed will give you ATLL about it, but they find out that the children that are taught at home are more responsible, respectful, and everything else, whereas the children that are in public school are more rowdy and rude and crude. So there's something to the IHIP program, but the thing is one parent definitely will have to stay home. You only have one income. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. It will not be easy, but the joys of it are unbelievable as they write their name for the first time, as they figure out a problem. You make sure that everything they watch on television, get them away from the phones, make sure everything they learn is educational. They have a lot of educational programs on television that they can learn. When you take a vacation or if you go to the park, you start explaining Don't be afraid to attack sex with them as well, explaining that to them. Use the words mating and stuff like that. And they'll see the animals and they'll ask you questions. Listen, they're going to catch you at the most inapt times. Believe you me, I've been caught there. But you will find a closer relationship, but your children will be a lot more smarter and a lot more responsible. And once they get the basics down and stuff, and you buy the books, our sons gravitated into the books and just kept on learning and learning, and they still learn to this day. So I believe in that. Yeah, I agree with you, H. No, they haven't. No, this is not a political channel. This is a cooking channel. And I do talk about things I've been through to help people to understand life is a cycle. Our sons didn't get a phone until they were what? In their teens, late teens. We kept them away from the phone. We wouldn't give them a phone to make sure. No, they're not isolated because during the weekend they went and played with other children and stuff. And family was there as well. They went out to the parks and we'd be there all day and they'd be out in the parks playing with other children and stuff. So no, see, that's what the Board of Ed says. Anybody that says, but they're isolated, they need other children. So they need other children to learn how to curse. They need other children to learn how to have gangs. They need, you see, to be guttural and be disrespectful. No, they don't need that. You can control, but they do have to go out to the parks or playgrounds and play with other children and stuff, so they get that. Also get the family involved where they know their cousins and stuff. So you don't have to worry about that, but it does take, like I said, one parent's going to have to be home and only one income can be coming in, so you have to make it work. Thank you, May. Sir? Politics, I don't think we need many more laws. I think we ought to uphold the laws that we have. Right, that's all they did. Oh, well, some people are going to be rude and crude. I'm going to try one. No, we'll try when they're cool enough. Now, you don't want to cut these. You're just going to tear them gently open. There they are, the homemade English muffins. Okay, that's different. There's not an argument that you can give me. I heard them all in court from the Board of Ed. You're only repeating the crap the Board of Ed says. Okay, that's it. These are good. You can write amen to this. And you think that they would be sour, them much more sour, but they're not. But you can taste it because of the buttermilk. Well, listen, I'm not cooking for the rest of the day because we're having leftovers today. I want you to have a good day. And for those of you that like to badmouth me or think I'm wrong, you have not walked in my shoes. You have not experienced what I have experienced. You do not know my past of why things are today. So as you judge me, God is going to judge you. So be careful when you start judging. Learn from people's experiences. You don't have to accept it, but you don't have to badmouth and judge them. Okay? Remember, I don't know where you come from, but maybe your group is all narrow-minded. I have friends that have different thoughts and ideas. I want all of you to take care. You guys are right. I'm never going to get off of here. You don't have to, Michael. I like to see what your answer is when you stand before him. Take care, all of you, okay? Luna, Clever, Blame, Rock, Sir, Big. I put them on biscuits, but this is an English muffin. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Okay.